As a theme park enthusiast, we understand that rides don't last forever, meaning that every time a park shuts, there's a small chance our favourite roller coaster will mysteriously implode. Sometimes replacements can outshine the original attractions, but we all know someone who's still attached to that one ride that's been gone for a millennial. No, Samantha, Corkscrew is not going to start mysteriously operating again. Let it go, woman. But it got me thinking as to which are the best and worst examples of this. You might not agree with me, which is completely fine, but just remember that I'm doing this based off of my opinion.
Please don't touch your blaster until the safety bar has lowered.
I don't think I knew anyone that had a massive issue with Duel, but I'm not sure the fan base was the largest either, especially towards the end of its lifetime. The ride had its fair share of TLC issues, which we all knew was a sign for something more, especially because they didn't end up fixing them. Near the end of its life, it was announced that Duel would have a retheme to the curse at Alton Manor for the 2023 season. This removed the blasters and focused more on the original story side of things, telling the backstory of the Alton family and the events of New Year's Eve. The whole story could have just been avoided if the old man just let her go to the party. Hashtag free up Emily. Overall, the experience has been majorly enhanced, even though the interaction is technically less because of the fact there aren't blasters anymore. It certainly doesn't feel that way. There's something to look at regardless of the way that your head is facing, and if you love Duel's horror setting, then you'll fall in love with Curse. The soundtrack is a major improvement, and it manages to keep me on my toes. Although I will say air cannons are cheap tricks for jump scares. You don't scare me, Emily, but the air cannons do. Dragon Falls was one of Chessington's oldest and most iconic rides at the park, known for its really colourful theme and relatively large drop for a family ride. It had been operational at the park since 1987, but as the years went on, a lot of the theming structures were stripped or changed until its eventual retheme in 2017. I personally like Tiger Rock, but that's most likely because I didn't get to do the previous one, so I can't really compare. Although from videos it does seem like a downgrade. I do really like the giant tiger statue at the end, and it's definitely a pretty thing to look at. Poor maintenance of the area and ride in general has made it quite unreliable and tired looking. I also had to mention that the first drop going from a beautifully sculpted dragon to later a rock and now just a shipping container is quite tragic. When Tiger Rock first opened, I think it was a suitable change, and being able to see the tigers while on ride was amazing. However, as it stands now, I definitely think it's a downgrade, as much as it hurts to say. Also, the LEDs inside of the first cave make me giggle as I own the same lighting system. It's from Amazon. The Flume is quite a nostalgic ride to many, with its fun theme of being a journey of bath time. What is the UK's obsession with baths? First Bubbleworks, then the Flume, next they're gonna make a town called Bath. Well, this water ride would send guests on quite a long ride, around 5.5 acres of Alton Towers. However, after its closure in 2015, it wouldn't be long until we heard something exciting coming to Alton Towers. I'm not usually a fan of parks closing a water ride in favour for a roller coaster, but for something like Wicker Man, I guess I can make an exception. The park tried for many years to get a wooden roller coaster, but I'm so glad this was the one that ended up getting approved. In comparison, Wicker Man was a whole experience from start to finish, with really cool theming, including the pretty badass Big Bob himself. But it's great that the park kept the height restriction down for this roller coaster, as it meant that they weren't replacing a family ride with a thrill one. Lots of people can enjoy Wicker Man, which is what makes it so good. The only downside is that Wicker Man can't survive a vape, whereas I'm sure the Flume could. Ugland was an area of the park at Alton Towers that shifted it into the theme park that we know today. It had many flat rides that we wish we still had, and in general was a really cute part of the park. One day they decided that they'd had enough and placed Lewis Hamilton in the middle of it all and called it a day. Rita, which at the time was known as the Queen of Speed, was an intimate accelerator coaster that launched riders from 0 to 61 in 2.5 seconds. This caused a massive change in the area, and it stuck out like a sore thumb. The ride itself I don't think is as offensive as people make it out to be. I just don't think that it belongs at Alton Towers. But it was announced that the removals would leave space for the next secret weapon that we now know as 13. The area was then changed to Dark Forest, and Rita received... What did Rita receive? Nothing. Oh, well, at least 13's good. The Black Hole was one of Alton Towers' most iconic rides, alongside Corkscrew and the Beast. It was a coaster that was made popular by its unique twist of being indoors, and it wasn't something that the UK had seen much of. In 1998, after the opening of Oblivion, the area started to change from Fantasyland into X Sector. This meant that the ride received a few theming updates, including a change of colour scheme and a new entrance in similar style to Oblivion. However, over time, the ride became unreliable and too expensive to maintain, so they made the decision to close it in 2005. 1995. Little did we know what Merlin would be smoking in 2013. The world record roller coaster for inversions and absolutely obliterating my eardrums. This more obnoxious counterpart would make quite a name for itself, becoming one of the largest Pacific roller coaster fan bases in the world. How do you know someone likes the Smiler, you ask? The better thing to ask would be, how do you not? But in all seriousness, the Smiler is extremely impressive and a landmark for Gerstlauer, as it was their first infinity model of roller coaster. The Smiler is also the only one to have over-the-shoulder restraints, and honestly, I think that's for the best. It would get super tiring trying to hold your body up for such a long amount of time. I'd be looking like a spaghetti noodle. This replacement no doubt was an upgrade, but sometimes I wish I did get to try Black Hole. Cloud Cuckoo Land was aimed at the younger audience of Alton Towers and was a very bright themed area set in a fantasy garden. But scrap that, you know what kids like even more than that? Reading. Said no one ever. David Walliams is an English actor and writer who is well known for his books for children, with the likes of Gangster Granny and Billionaire Boy. These had similar style to Roald Dahl and became an immediate hit, so it was a no-brainer for Alton Towers to catch on to the success, if they had done it about 10 years earlier. This area opened in 2021, the same year as the absolutely cinematic masterpiece Sing 2. To put that into perspective, I read David Walliams' books when I was in primary school. I am now 21 years old. Why the decision was made is beyond me. I don't care that much because it's quite a bright and colourful area, and Gangster Granny is a great ride. But a ride based on farts in 2025 is definitely an explanation as to why our generation is so brain rotted. I never enjoy when original IPs are turned into relevant ones because in the long term they won't last, and it just means that the park will have to spend more on updating it. Not many people are ever at that side of the park because it's a pain in the butt cheek to get to, although the driving school is still an absolute classic. Just maybe keep the kids away from David Walliams' other comedies like Come Fly With Me. Temple Heights was a magic carpet ride found in the Lost Kingdom section of Polton's Park, and it had a good run of 15 years, but would close for something bigger and better to take its space. Splash Lagoon is the perfect replacement for technically 2 rides, as the other log flume closed shortly after this one opened. It's a much better fit for a Lost Kingdom, and has a great attention to detail. While this ride is only a junior log flume, as an adult you can still go on it. You've just got to make sure there's only 1 adult per boat, because the water is about 2 centimeters high, and you will end up sinking the boat and causing a blockage worse than the people that are lactose intolerant but still eat a whole piece of macaroni cheese. The ride is complete with some pretty impressive animatronics, and it's quite a soaker, which is great for hot days. A very welcome improvement.
It's not hero, it's zero.
Flamingo Land in North Yorkshire is known for a mix of strange rides and zoo, but in 1997 they added a Maura wild mouse to their ride lineup. I know a lot of people have mixed opinions on wild mouses, but I think they're quite fun for what they are, and for a place like Flamingo Land, they're really affordable. What no one expected was what its replacement would be. None other than the Zamperla Valore. What the actual flip-flop were they thinking? But to be fair, Hero is probably one of the most talked about roller coasters in the UK because of how uncomfortable and stupid it is. So in a way, maybe this was a good decision. People would travel to see how dumb it looks, and I know I'll be doing the same at some point. Following the same trend as Alton Towers, Thorpe Park also wanted to remove a log flume and replace it with a roller coaster, but this time it was slightly more tragic as it took a whole themed area with it. Logger's Leap was a Mack Rides log flume that even had royalty on it at some point in its lifetime. It was an enjoyable experience for a lot of people and ended up being an absolute soaker of a water ride because of its double down. When it opened, it looked quite pretty, but as the years went on, it started looking worse and having more issues. The roof over the first drop was removed in 2013 because of structural issues and was never replaced. Many of the boats also started to have leaks. Seems like an easy solution though, just don't bring them on board to start with. The ride unofficially closed in 2015, and people started to become suspicious that this was the end. It was then officially announced a couple years later in 2019 that it wouldn't reopen. In December 2021, Thorpe Park started a 4-week consultation on its new roller coaster, which we know today as Hyperia. This would be a Mack Rides hypercoaster and the tallest and fastest roller coaster we had in the UK, making it, in my opinion, one of the best ride replacements we've ever had. It opened inside of the well-named Fearless Valley. Despite all its issues, Hyperia is still the most impressive and unique roller coaster in the UK. I think she's just going through a lot right now. I would too if I was being called the Golden Goddess.
My pronouns are USA.
Eagle's Claw was a frisbee inward-facing flat ride designed by KMG and was a fan favourite for those who enjoyed visiting Lightwater Valley. In recent years, the park had started to change its target audience to the more profitable profitable family market. But originally when the change started, they kept a few of the thrill rides to make sure that there was something for everyone. And to say we never saw this coming is a massive understatement. I don't even have jokes for this. What is that? That is not my Jungle Bus, but I do wonder if it compares in intensity. There are definitely more that I didn't cover, but do you agree with me? Or what do you think are the best and worst ride replacements? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video or I made you laugh, consider checking out some of my other videos, or even subscribe, as there'll be more on the way soon. I hope you guys are all doing well. Take care, nerds. This ride's coming to the end of its lifetime. That's so annoying. I really liked it. Nah, that's not annoying. It's exciting. Now we can speculate what's gonna replace it. I doubt anything will replace it just yet. Hey guys, got a delivery for Chessington? Oh, mate, you're never gonna believe this.